The cruelty of an empath makes the narcissist's body tremble violently with fear. For so many of you, the idea of an empath, especially one caught in the relentless grip of narcissistic abuse, often conjures images of boundless compassion, unending patience, and perhaps even a certain vulnerability. You see yourselves as the givers, the feelers, the ones who absorb the pain of others, often to your own detriment, and the narcissist, in this dynamic, is almost universally cast as the powerful, manipulative aggressor, the one who inflicts the suffering. But what if I told you that there's a profound, often unspoken truth about this dynamic? What if I revealed that the very qualities of an empath, when properly understood and powerfully enacted, can become the narcissist's deepest, most primal fear? What if the cruelty of an empath, not intentional malice, but the fierce, unwavering commitment to their own truth and well-being, can make the narcissist's internal world tremble violently with fear? This isn't about advocating for revenge or encouraging you to become cold-hearted. Far from it. This is about understanding a profound psychological paradox. The narcissist, who outwardly projects invincibility and indifference, is in fact fueled by a bottomless pit of insecurity and a pervasive existential terror of exposure and annihilation. And it is precisely the empath's journey into self-awareness, boundary setting, and authentic self-preservation that acts as the most potent threat to the narcissist's fragile, fabricated reality. In this video, we're going to explore this startling truth. We will delve into 10 powerful, seemingly cruel actions that empaths take, actions born not of malice, but of profound self-love, that psychologically destabilize a narcissist and trigger their most primal fears. This understanding is absolutely vital for your healing, for it demystifies their reactions, validates your courageous choices, and ultimately empowers you to solidify your boundaries, knowing that your peace is their greatest psychological disruption. When we use the phrase "the cruelty of an empath," it's crucial to understand that we are not speaking of intentional harm or malicious intent on the empath's part. Empaths, by their very nature, are driven by compassion and a deep desire for connection. The cruelty here refers to the profound existential threat that an empath's healthy, self-preserving behaviors pose to the narcissist's disordered psyche. These actions, while acts of liberation and self-care for the empath, are perceived as terrifying, overwhelming, and utterly cruel by the narcissist because they directly attack the very foundations of their false self, their control, and their desperate need for narcissistic supply. The fear that makes a narcissist's body tremble violently is not a fear of physical reprisal from the empath. Instead, it is a deep psychological terror related to the collapse of their fabricated identity, the loss of their absolute control, the exposure of their inner emptiness, and the terrifying prospect of true abandonment. For a narcissist, this kind of emotional and psychological threat is akin to an existential crisis. Your healthy boundaries and self-worth become the most formidable weapon against their manipulative tactics. Here are 10 profound cruelties, reinterpreted as powerful, healthy actions of an empath, that make the narcissist tremble with fear. From a psychological perspective, the imposition of firm, unwavering boundaries. The first and most immediate cruelty an empath inflicts upon a narcissist is the imposition of firm, clear, and unwavering boundaries. For the empath, this is an act of profound self-respect and self-preservation, a vital step in protecting their emotional and energetic well-being. For the narcissist, however, it shatters their fundamental sense of entitlement and their illusion of absolute control. From a psychological perspective, a narcissist views others as extensions of themselves, existing solely to meet their needs and desires. They operate with a pervasive sense of entitlement, believing they have the right to violate any boundary without consequence. When an empath, perhaps for the first time, articulates a clear no and forces a limit, or refuses to comply with an unreasonable demand, it triggers an intense narcissistic injury. This isn't just about disappointment. It's a direct assault on their perceived omnipotence. The fear that makes their body tremble violently stems from the sudden loss of control, the terrifying realization that you are not an extension of them, and the profound rejection implied by your autonomy. Their internal world, reliant on external validation and unchallenged dominance, is thrown into disarray. This boundary, which protects you, feels like an act of profound aggression and cruelty to them, because it denies them the absolute power they pathologically crave. It forces them to confront a reality where they are not all-powerful, and that reality is terrifying. 2. The initiation of unwavering no contact. Perhaps the ultimate act of cruelty from an empath's perspective, and the deepest fear for a narcissist, is the initiation of unwavering no contact. For the empath, this is the final, necessary step to sever the toxic tie, to starve the narcissist of the supply they so desperately need, and to embark on a journey of healing. For the narcissist, it is an existential threat. Psychologically, no contact is the equivalent of pulling the plug on their life support system. Narcissists lack an internal sense of self-worth and rely entirely on external validation, known as narcissistic supply, to regulate their fragile ego. Your complete absence, your silence, and your refusal to engage, even negatively, deprives them of this vital fuel. This triggers an unparalleled narcissistic injury, experienced as abandonment, rejection, and profound powerlessness. The fear that makes their body tremble violently is an annihilation anxiety, the terrifying prospect that their false self will collapse, leaving them exposed to the horrifying emptiness within. They literally fear becoming nothing. No contact doesn't just cut off communication, it cuts off their very means of psychological survival, forcing them to confront the terrifying void they spend their entire lives running from. This absolute refusal to exist within their orbit is the most terrifying cruelty an empath can deliver, because it threatens their very psychological existence. 3. The refusal to provide narcissistic supply, emotional indifference. Beyond no contact, even subtle shifts in an empath's behavior can be profoundly destabilizing for a narcissist. A powerful cruelty is the refusal to provide narcissistic supply, especially through emotional indifference to their baiting. When an empath learns to gray rock or simply stops reacting to their provocations, it is terrifying for the narcissist. Psychologically, a narcissist thrives on eliciting strong emotional reactions from others, whether it's admiration, anger, fear, or despair. These reactions serve as their supply, validating their existence and their power. When an empath, through conscious effort, refuses to get drawn into arguments, remains calm in the face of their manipulation, or simply expresses genuine indifference, the narcissist is starved of this crucial fuel. The fear that makes their body tremble violently comes from the terrifying realization of their own powerlessness. They cannot control your emotions, they cannot extract your energy, and they become invisible to you. This is an unbearable state for someone who needs to be the constant center of attention and control. Your emotional detachment, which is a profound act of self-care for you, feels like a chilling form of neglect and rejection to them, revealing their inability to control your inner world. This subtle cruelty of emotional neutrality exposes their impotence and strips them of their favorite weapon. 4. The act of genuine emotional detachment and disengagement. Building upon the refusal of supply, an even deeper cruelty that profoundly impacts the narcissist is the empath's act of genuine emotional detachment and disengagement. This is not just about superficial no contact. It's about the empath truly letting go emotionally, ceasing to ruminate, and genuinely moving on. Psychologically, a narcissist maintains a perverse form of attachment to their supply sources, believing they have a permanent claim to their attention and emotional energy. They often fantasize about their ex-partners, still obsessing over them, even negatively. When an empath truly detaches, when their thoughts are no longer consumed by the narcissist, when they genuinely start living their life free from rumination, it is an ultimate form of psychological abandonment. The fear that makes their body tremble violently is the profound terror of irrelevance and true abandonment. They are no longer held in your thoughts, they no longer occupy space in your emotional landscape. This means they cannot extract even indirect supply from your suffering or your focus on them. Your genuine emotional freedom, which is your deepest healing, is perceived as a cruel absolute severing of their connection to you, rendering them truly insignificant in your world a terrifying prospect for someone whose entire identity is built on external validation. 5. The pursuit of healing and manifest thriving. Perhaps one of the most agonizing cruelties an empath can inflict upon a narcissist, entirely unintentionally, is their visible pursuit of healing and their manifest thriving after the relationship ends. When the empath starts to glow, to rebuild their life, find joy, and genuinely flourish, it triggers profound fear and rage in the narcissist. Psychologically, the narcissist needs to believe that you are devastated, miserable, and utterly lost without them. Your suffering validates their importance and their perceived power. Your healing, your peace, and especially your evident happiness contradict their entire narrative. It implies that their abuse failed to destroy you, that you are resilient, and most terrifyingly, that they are not indispensable. The fear that makes their body tremble violently stems from the exposure of their own inadequacy and the unbearable reality that their victim is winning. Your thriving makes their abuse visible. It shows that life is better without them, and it threatens to expose their true nature to others who might observe your recovery. This cruelty is a constant, living reminder of their failure to utterly break you and their inability to control your internal state, which is an unbearable truth for their fragile ego. 6. The validation of their own reality. Refusal to be gaslit. One of the most insidious tools in a narcissist arsenal is gaslighting, systematically twisting your reality to make you doubt your own perceptions, memories, and sanity. A profound cruelty an empath can inflict is their unwavering commitment to validating their own reality and their refusal to be gaslit. Psychologically, the narcissist needs to control your mind to control you. They use gaslighting to prevent you from trusting yourself, thus making you dependent on their distorted version of events. When an empath, through introspection, therapy, and external validation, learns to trust their own perceptions, to remember what truly happened, and to firmly stand in their truth, it directly attacks the narcissist's core manipulative strategy. The fear that makes their body tremble violently comes from the profound loss of control over your mind. They cannot dictate your reality anymore. This means their lies are exposed, their manipulations are seen through, and their attempts to reframe history are futile. Your unwavering commitment to your own truth is terrifying because it shines a light on their deception, exposing them as liars and manipulators, and denying them the power to redefine your reality, which is a cornerstone of their control. 7. The withholding of forgiveness or enabling. A subtle, yet immensely impactful cruelty that an empath can exercise is the withholding of unconditional forgiveness or the refusal to continue enabling the narcissist's behavior. Forgiveness, for many empaths, is a natural inclination, but for a narcissist, it's often seen as an opportunity to escape accountability and repeat their patterns. Psychologically, a narcissist believes they are above consequence and that their actions should be excused. They often expect you to get over it or to move on without them ever genuinely apologizing or making amends. When an empath refuses to offer that premature or unearned forgiveness, or when they stop making excuses for the narcissist's bad behavior to others, it directly forces the narcissist to confront the possibility of accountability. The fear that makes their body tremble violently stems from the terrifying prospect of perpetual guilt, a feeling they desperately project onto others, and the inability to escape the repercussions of their actions. Your refusal to enable their victim narrative or excuse their abuse means they cannot rewrite history or avoid responsibility, which is an unbearable threat to their grandiose self-image. This cruelty traps them in a reality where their actions have consequences, a reality they desperately avoid. 8. The building of a strong, healthy support system. For a narcissist, one of the most frightening cruelties an empath can commit is the building of a strong, healthy support system of friends, family, or professionals who understand the dynamics of narcissistic abuse. Psychologically, the narcissist thrives on isolating their victims. They systematically undermine your relationships, make you doubt your loved ones, and ensure you feel dependent on them alone. When an empath begins to open up, share their story, and gain validation and support from others, it directly threatens the narcissist's control and narrative. The fear that makes their body tremble violently comes from the terrifying prospect of exposure to a wider audience. Their manipulations and abuses are no longer confined to the private sphere. They are being revealed to people who might actually believe you. This threatens their public image and diminishes their power to smear you effectively. Your strong support system acts as a protective shield against their further manipulations and hoovering attempts, leaving them isolated in their own pathology, which is a terrifying prospect for someone who relies entirely on external validation. 9. The communication of clarity and calm in the face of provocation. Even if accidental contact occurs, a powerful cruelty an empath can deliver is their ability to communicate with absolute clarity and maintain profound calm in the face of the narcissist's provocations. This isn't about engaging, it's about disarming their tactics. Psychologically, narcissists thrive on chaos and emotional reactions. They bait, poke, and provoke to elicit supply, whether it's anger, tears, or frustration. When an empath responds with unshakable calm, clear, and concise language, and refuses to rise to the bait, the narcissist is utterly disarmed. The fear that makes their body tremble violently comes from the realization that their manipulative tactics are failing. They cannot extract your emotional energy, they cannot control your reactions, and they are left feeling powerless and frustrated. Your composure, which is a testament to your healing and self-regulation, feels like a chilling form of indifference and a direct challenge to their ability to emotionally manipulate you. This cruelty of calm exposes their impotence and leaves them with no emotional leverage, which is a terrifying experience for someone whose entire world revolves around controlling others' feelings. 10. The revelation of authenticity by the empath living truthfully. Ultimately, one of the most profound cruelties an empath can inflict upon a narcissist is the simple act of living authentically and truthfully, a stark contrast to the narcissist's fabricated false self. As the empath heals, they shed layers of trauma, reclaim their true identity, and live with integrity and genuine emotion. Psychologically, the narcissist lives a lie, constantly performing and projecting a false image. Your genuine authenticity, your capacity for real emotions, and your ability to live a life aligned with your values serve as a constant implicit threat to their fragile facade. The fear that makes their body tremble violently stems from the terrifying realization of their own profound inauthenticity. Your genuine glow highlights their emptiness. Your true connections underscore their superficiality, and your integrity exposes their duplicity. This cruelty is a mirror reflecting back to them the very truth they desperately try to avoid, that they are not who they pretend to be. It is not an act of aggression, but the very act of living truthfully, which forces them to confront the terrifying reality of their own disordered self, leaving them feeling profoundly inferior and utterly exposed. The dynamic between an empath and a narcissist is rarely as simple as it appears. While the empath often bears the brunt of the abuse, it is their journey of healing, self-awareness, and empowered self-preservation that ultimately triggers the narcissist's deepest, most visceral fears. The cruelty of an empath is not born of malice, but of monumental self-love. It is the courageous act of setting boundaries, enacting no contact, refusing to provide supply, detaching emotionally, healing and thriving, validating their own reality, withholding undeserved forgiveness, building strong support systems, communicating with calm clarity, and living authentically. These actions, while acts of liberation for the empath, directly dismantle the narcissist's illusions of control, invincibility, and worth. They expose the profound emptiness at their core, triggering an existential fear that shakes their entire fabricated reality. Your capacity to reclaim your life, to glow in your truth, and to find peace outside their control is their most profound psychological disruption. It is a testament to your strength and your undeniable path toward genuine freedom. Thank you for joining us on this vital journey of insight and empowerment. If this video has resonated with you, or if you believe it could bring crucial understanding and a path forward to someone you know, please share it widely. Let's continue to illuminate the path toward healing and authentic connection for everyone. See you in the next video.